Uh, Hi friends. I'm sorry for the late video. I've been working a lot. I do a lot. But anyway, today we're supposed to be talking about what affects your perception. Now, understanding what affects your perception is important because ultimately that will affect your behavior. In this situation, where we're talking about choices, this knowing what affects your perception will affect your ability to make good choices or not. All right. And I want to talk to you today about the science behind perception, or your brain function, or your behavior. Now there's a broad sort of way to think about the brain when it comes to behavior. And this very idea was brought together by this guy named Paul MacLean, and he thought about the brain as coming in 3 layers. All right, and this is very schematic because the brain does come in 3 layers. And he referred to this 3-layer brain model as the Triune brain. Now, the most inner layer of the brain, of this Triune brain model, he referred to as the reptilian brain, where the physical response to your needs, wants, desires, etc., social needs, etc., your primal drives, or what drives you in general. And I want to even put in lust and your physical response to lust, covetousness, anger, etc. Oh, this part of the brain is also referred to as the basal ganglia. Now, the second layer of the brain, the paleomammalian, also known as the emotional brain or the limbic system. This part of the brain sometimes triggers the reptilian brain, or the reptilian brain sometimes triggers the emotional brain. But after the emotional brain is triggered, sometimes it will trigger the outermost part of the brain, which is also sometimes known as the neomammalian. But Paul MacLean referred to this as the rational brain, the lying brain, or sometimes referred as to the lying to yourself brain. All right, also known as the Neocortex. Hold tight. Hold up, I'm fine. Oh, never mind. That's just business partner. You don't want anything. But anyway, knowing how these 3 layers of the brain work together is important. All right. But like I said, the reptilian brains will sometimes trigger the emotional brain. Emotional brain sometimes will trigger a response from a physical response to the reptilian brain. The reptilian brain will trigger again the emotional brain. The emotional brain will trigger the rational brain, the lying brain, or the lying to yourself brain. I find that lying to yourself brain funny. And you need to understand how this will affect your choices, especially when your needs or your wants, your physical response to what's driving you, all right, is not being satisfied. And we see this a lot in hunger when the physical response of hunger is not being satisfied. It could cause you to make a bad decision. All right. For example, you'll find yourself hungry, that trigger an emotional, and that emotional brain will trigger a rational response to, hey, I need to go to the store. Well, when you get there, all right, you see all of this stuff that you need, that triggers your emotional brain triggering your physical response of hunger. All right, your physical response to hunger triggering your emotional brain again, and your emotional brain triggering your rational brain. You go out and you start picking up food that you just like, cookies, chips, just because you're hungry. And your brain will tell you you're getting this because you need it, and you just need to satisfy that need. Same thing will happen when you're choosing sexual partners, when you're choosing a spouse, when you're choosing whether or not you should take a job or not, whether or not or anything that you need, all right, or want, or desire, or covet, lust for, etc. Your brain will go through this same process. But in order to make a good decision, you've got to learn how to suppress, all right, this very natural process so that you can think clearly. For example, I'll give you one example that I see a lot, especially in men, all right, when it comes to choosing a sexual partner, all right. The primal drive physical response the physical response of unsatisfied sexual drives, all right, will trigger an emotional response. And when we see a woman that we're attracted to, all right, we'll tell ourselves that we want that person. And after conversating with them for just a little while, we might tell them that I can love this person, I love it, I want that person. Or maybe after a couple of months, because that primal drive is really not being satisfied, you may only see what you want because that primal drive has not been satisfied yet. All right, you get with this woman, you have sex with her, all of a sudden you find out that, hey, you really don't want that young lady, or after you've satisfied that sexual drive or that thing that's driving you toward that woman, all right, you might find out that her personality, all right, is not really what you want, all right, but you can avoid that bad choice, or that you can avoid that bad choice if you learn to suppress this very natural process and think about what you really know about whatever you're doing. For example, what do you know about the food you're picking up? Is that bag of cookies that you really want to eat, is it really good for you? That woman or that man that you're choosing to be with, do you really know much about them? All right, if you don't suppress this natural thought process in your head and take the time to actually think about what you're doing, it's going to be hard for you to make good decisions. That's with anything. Even when it comes to choosing a job, choosing a career path. All right, I know this guy. He works in Jackson, Mississippi, and he assistant director of economics and development. He took the job because one on paper he has the education, all right, and he has the feel like he needs to hold a position of power for social needs, all right. For most of his friends are really successful people, and he want to be able to hang with them, but he got this job, and now he knows he finds that he really doesn't know what he's doing. But if he knew about this brain process, this process that our brain goes through, he probably could have taken the time out to find out what the job that he was applying for entailed before he actually took it. And maybe he could have made the choice. Could have told himself, "Hey, this job is not really in my skill set." But now he has the job, all right? And he really doesn't know what he's doing. So now his reputation with that city, all right, Jackson, Mississippi city, is declining because he can't really fulfill the responsibilities of the job. But he could have avoided this had he known how to suppress this very natural process that our brain goes through. He could have stopped, thought about what the job entails, and hey, probably bagged out and found something else. But now his reputation is ruined because he took a job that he really doesn't know how to do, even though his education on paper says that he does. All right. As a businessman, his reputation probably will be ruined for the rest of his life. But he could have avoided it had he suppressed this very natural process. Same thing I see a lot with when it comes to marrying the wrong person. All right, if you learn to suppress this natural process that your brain goes through, suppress what you think you need, or suppress your unsatisfied primal drives, all right, and control your emotions, suppress your rational brain, suppress yourself lying to yourself like you might, as though you really love a person when you may not really know that person, all right, or you may not really know what it's like to be with that person on a day in, day out basis. All right, if you learn to suppress this natural process of the triune brain, you can learn to make good choices where it counts. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you're never going to make a bad mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. However, you can learn how to make good decisions where it counts if you learn how to suppress the triune brain, this triune brain that Paul McLean talks about. All right, and don't get me wrong, this process is natural, but you've got to learn how to suppress this brain, these three layers of the brain, so that you can make a good decision.